Good afternoon, students. Welcome back. Today we're going to do the cash budget. There's just some important stuff that you need to know. Firstly, with the cash budget, it is what it says, cash. So everything that is non-cash, you need to basically take out. Okay, like for example, depreciation is non-cash, and your credit losses, or also known as bad debt. Okay, so this does not mean that you won't find it in the question. If you find it in the question, you always need to remember, is there an instruction? What must I do with that? Because that should not be there. Then we need to know the framework. Now the cash budget framework always has, it starts with opening balance, then you add your cash receipts. This will give you your total cash receipts. Then you minus less your cash payments. And this will give you your closing balance. Okay, now with cash receipts, you need to look for indications. For example, they can say you received money, or you know that money came in, right? So it's an inflow of cash that goes to the cash receipts. With payments, they can use words like you paid for something, and that's normally an outflow of cash, meaning the business is paying it, and here the business is receiving it. Okay, so this is now a typical question that we are going to do. We will do it in a step-by-step way. Okay, so it says here, as financial manager of Ubuntu Limited, you have been tasked with preparing a cash budget for the organization. You have been provided with the following information. So they gave you items, cash sales, credit purchases, salaries, wages, rental, general expenses, and advertising, and they gave you the amounts for November to March. Okay, so now the first thing that you need to do, you need to go and check what is the required, because we can ask you to draw up the cash budget for 1 month, or for 2 months, or for 3 months. We can even ask you to draw it up for up to 6 months. Okay, so now we're going to go to required, and the required says, prepare a cash budget for the first quarter from January to March. Okay, so you already know these are the months that they're looking for, January to March. Okay, so you already know January, February, March is 3 months. So you must already have 3 months for your cash budget. So I'm going to draw my cash budget here. Exam technique, you can do it like this. Do all your calculations on another page, and as you read, you can fill in the information. Right, so I must have 3 columns for my months, and then I must have a 4th column for my description. Now remember your framework. Okay. Okay, so we have January, February, and March. Okay, and what's my framework? It's opening balance. And then you add all your cash receipts. Now remember, under cash receipts, there's 2 line items that you always put in. You might not have the information on the question, but that's fine. But this is just time saving. So we have our cash sales. Remember, sales, you sell, money flows in. Then you have our debtors schedule. Now, if you look at the question says, include the debtor's collection schedule and the creditor's payment schedule. Right. Now, this is our debtor's collection schedule. This is always a calculation. Right? And then you're going to have all your income. Everything that the company has received or everything that has been an inflow. Okay, so you're going to add up everything here, and then you're going to put your totals there. So as we read, we are going to fill in our information. Okay, so here we have our 3 columns, we have our description, and now we can start with our question. So now, as you read, fill in the information, and that will be a time saver. So what am I actually looking for? I'm looking for everything that's income, everything that's expenses, and that I know which goes where. So it says additional information. Now remember, once you are done with the question, you must have accounted for every single item in the block and every additional information. Additional information, it says your credit sales are collected as follows. Okay, so let's take our page here. They're telling us that 60% is collected in the month of sale. Right, so it's in the month of sale. Okay, and then they say you will receive a 5% discount. Now, what that actually means is, if I am in November, 60% of the November amount will be collected in November in the month of sale. Then they say 20% is collected in the month following the sales, right? So, then they say 20% will be collected. What's the month following the sale? The month of sale was November, so the month thereafter is December. And then they say 15% collected in the second month following the sale. So 15% basically will then be collected second month. So this is the month of sale. The second month will be 1, 2, which will be January. Okay, but remember they also said you will receive a 5% discount. That is if you collect the whole 60% in the month of sale. Okay, now this would basically be how we're going to distribute the amount. Okay, so this is a calculation, so we are going to do that last. Then they say 5% is written off as bad debts. We already know, previous study units, bad debts is a non-cash item. So you do nothing with that, right? Then they say, note number 2, payments. Okay, let's give another color for that. Payments. So the pink is our receipts. Payments of goods purchased at 60%, right? So now we're talking, this was our sales. This was for our sales. Now we're going to do for our purchases. Okay, so they say 60% in the first month following. Okay, so we have purchases in November, right? So they say 60% is in the first month following. Now the month of sale is November. The first month following will be December. And then the question continues and it says, and 40% in the second month after the purchase, right? Second month purchase is November, first month is December, second month will be January. So this is how we are going to allocate our purchases, right? So for all of them, 60% the next month, 40% the month thereafter. Okay, our question continues, and then it says general expenses. Now what I do, I'm using two different kinds of highlighters. My expenses is in yellow and my income is in pink. So that when I do my question, it's easier for me to allocate what is an expense and what is a receipt, right? So it says general expenses, but general expenses is giving you an instruction. It says depreciation, which we know as non-cash, is 3,000 per month. So here is our general expenses. So this means I need to deduct 3,000 rand here, 3,000 rand here, and 3,000 rand here. Now, please read your question carefully. Sometimes it could just say, okay, let me just zoom in so that you can see the 3,000 that I wrote. Can you see? I just allocated. I just made an indication that I need to deduct it. So now, when you do your cash budget, you know that you need to deduct it. And read the question carefully. Sometimes the question might tell you that 3,000 depreciation is only for a specific month, right? So then we are done with that one. Note number 4 says the company will pay. As soon as you pay, money flows out of the company. So this is an expense, 2,500, but it's only for the month of January. So meaning February and March, you won't have that payment. Then it's interest on loan. Remember that this is an expense. Why? Because you need to pay the bank the interest of, but they're saying the loan is 300,000 at 10% per annum, meaning for the whole year, and it's payable every month. So yeah, I need to do a calculation. I need to take the 300,000, multiply by 10%. This will give me my interest for the whole year. So it's 300,000 multiply by 10%. So my interest for the whole year is 30,000. But remember, I want it per month. Then I divide it by 12. It is 2,500 per month. Right. And then it says a bank balance on the 1st of January. What you need to remember, an opening balance of 1 year, right, of 1 month is always at the beginning of the month. Then you get your closing balance. A closing balance of 1 month becomes your opening balance of the next month. Now this is an overdraft, meaning you basically, or this company, Ubuntu Limited, owes the bank money, right? Sometimes it can be overdraft, sometimes it's just a normal bank balance, right? So we already know this is an opening balance. If it says the 31st of January, you should know that is a closing balance, but it will be an opening balance for the new month. Okay, so there is what I have, and then I go to my box, I highlight cash sales, we'll go to my income, credit sales, I'll use it with my income as well. Then I have my credit purchases, expense, salaries, wages, rental, and advertising will go under my expense or my payment section. Okay, now I'm ready to do my question. Okay, you can do this at the beginning or you can do it at the end. The calculation of your debtor schedule and the calculation of your creditor's schedule. I like doing mine at the end, so I'm first going to finish everything else, meaning everything that's on my question, I'm going to put on my answer sheet just in case I run out of time, that I don't only have one part, right? So this does not take a lot of time. So now it says cash sales. Now remember, they gave us cash sales. So I just go and I jotted in For January, it's 280. For February, it's 250. For March, it's 280. Sometimes they will add it in the total sales and they will expect you to calculate it. They could say out of total sales, 40% is cash sales. Then you must just calculate it. But now they gave it to us. So yeah, I can just put in 280, 250, and 280. Okay, my debtor schedule, remember that's a calculation, so I'm going to skip that for now. And then I look for any other creditors or any other income. Can you see we only have our credit sales left? Our credit sales we use to calculate our debtor schedule, and we use our note number 1. So we don't have any other income. So then I can basically close this off, my block. So my opening balance plus my cash receipts is going to equal to my total receipts, or total, let me just write cash receipts. Okay, others say total cash available, but that's not so important for me. What it is that you write there, as long as it makes sense and you understand. Then we are going to say less our cash payments. Always, as I said, like you always have cash sales and debtors collection, you always have cash purchases and creditors payment schedule. Okay, creditors payment schedule is also a calculation, so I will come back to that. Okay, now I'm going to go through my list. Now you see they only have credit purchases. They only have credit purchases. There's no cash purchases, so I just do this, meaning there's no cash purchases. Credit payments, I'm going to come back to that because it's a calculation, and then I start. Salaries and wages. I go to my additional information first to see if they've given me any instruction with regards to salaries and wages. Now here they're talking about general expenses, dividends, interest on loan. So no instruction for salaries and wages. So I just come and I just fill it in. Salaries and wages, 160, 160, 160 every month. So I just fill that in. I'm done with salaries and wages. Then I go to rental. Rental, they didn't give me anything in additional information with regards to rental. Okay, so I just put in 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. As you can see, I'm only interested in the 3 months that they have requested. Okay, then I have general expenses. Now, when I was reading through my question, I noted there I must minus the 3,000 because that was the instruction I received in my additional information. So 15 minus 3 is 12,000, and they said it's every month. Okay, and then I tick off general expenses on my additional to show that I'm also done with it there. Then I have advertising. They did not give me any information or additional information, so there was no instruction, so I just jotted down 2005. Okay, so I'm done with everything in the block. Now I come down to my additional information. I know that note 1 is a calculation. Note 2 is also a calculation. This is my debtor's schedule calculation. This is my creditor's schedule calculation. Creditor's payment schedule. Okay, general expenses I've done already. Then number 4 says the company, let me just zoom it. It says the company will pay dividend of 2,500 in the month of January. So I just go on my list and I will say dividend paid, or dividend. $2,500, and they said only for January. So in February there was nothing, and in March there was nothing. Okay, so I'm done with number 4. Number 5 says interest on loan, 300. We did our calculation, so per month it should be 2,500. Please, if you can, put your calculation here on your answer sheet as well. So we're going to say interest on loan. So it's 300,000 times 10% divided by 12. So it's 2,500 per month. Okay, so we are done with interest, and then they tell us our bank balance on the 1st of January is 50,000, but it's a overdraft, so we go there and we say 50,000. Now I've basically taken all the information that is on my question, and I've now put it on my answer sheet. Now I can do my calculations, right? So now I know I end off. These are all my payments, and then I say closing balance. Now remember, closing balance in 1 month is an opening balance in the next month. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Okay, so now I'm going to do my calculations. I'm just going to write here. Please, you don't have to do it on one page. You have a book to do the calculation on, so you, just for sake of neatness, you can do it over the 2 pages. So this first one is going to be my debtors collection schedule. Let me just highlight it. And remember, with debtors collection schedule, you're going to use your credit sales. Okay, so what you need to do, now you need to, all the months that they have given you, you need to indicate it. Why? Because if you can see, with November payment, remember what's the months that they want from us? They want January, February, and March. With the November sales, 15% of that fall in the month that you are requested to calculate. That's why we account for all the months that we have been given: November, December, January, February, March. Okay, so then you go and you say November, December, January, February, and March. Right? And then on the side, you also go and account for it. Now I'm just going to say N for November, December, January, February, March, and total. So total, remember, they want these 3 months. So I only want the total of these 3 months. Okay, then I'm going to have my creditors collection schedule, creditors payment schedule. I do exactly the same. I write November, December, January, February, and March. Okay, November, December, January, February, March, and total. we only want for these 3 months. So all the other totals are unimportant. Okay, so we only want calculations for these 3 months. And when it comes to our debtor schedule, we're only interested in calculations for these 3 months. Okay, so I take my question, and now I'm going to write the amounts that they gave me. Right, for November, my credit sales was 800. For December, it was 950, 720, 600, 480. Right? So I'm going to take these amounts, and then I'm just going to write it on the side. Right? So that I don't have to always go back to my question. Once I've written it here, I'm only going to need this paper to do my calculation. So my November's 800, 950, 800 for November, 950, 720, 600, and 480. So I'm just going to do this, 800, 950, 720, 600, and 480. Okay, I do exactly the same for my creditor schedule. Now remember, creditor schedule is to do with credit purchases. These are credit sales, and here we use credit purchases. Okay, so then I go to my credit purchases. It's 300, 320, 300, 250, 200, right? I'm going to repeat, it's 300, 320, 300, 250, 200, right? So you just write it as is from the question paper. 300, 320, 300, 250, 200. Okay, and then we follow the instruction as per the question. Now, the question says, in the month of the sale, meaning in November, right, they're going to pay so much in November. In December, they're going to pay so much in December. In January, they're going to pay 60%, right? So we say, what I do, I just write a small 60% in the corner, because in the month of November, I'm going to pay 60%. December sales, when the sale is in December, I must pay 60% in December. When the sale is in January, let's do it like this. When the sale is in January, I go to the column January, and I must know I must pay 60%. The sale is in February, I go to the column in February, and I must pay 60%. March, same story. But can you see there is like a pattern? It slants, right? Okay, now remember, with 60%, if you pay the full amount, the question says, if you pay the full amount, which is what is due, is 60%, it means you have paid 100%. But they're saying, if you do pay the 100% due, not the 100% of the sales, 100% of due. Now, due is the 60%. You can get 5% discount. So that means if you pay the full 60%, you can get a 5% discount. If you pay the full 60%, it means that you have paid 100% of what is due. You can get a 5% discount. So that means that you only need to pay 95% of the amount and not 100%. I will show you that calculation just now. We just want to finish our table. Then they say the following month, meaning if your sale is in November, the following month will be December, you must pay 20%. Okay, I go to my table and I say, okay, my sale is in November, the following month is December, I must pay 20%. The sale is in December, the following month is January, I must pay 20%. The sale is in January, the following month is February, I must pay 20%. The sale is in February, the following month is March, I must pay 20%. The sale is in March, the following month is April, but we don't want April. April is not needed, so I won't do anything with March's sales. Okay. The last instruction says 15% is collected in the second month following sale. So if the sale is in November, second month, first, second month, right, will be 15%. If the sale is in December, second month, first, second month, it will be 15%. If it's in January, right, first, second month, it will be in March. If in February, it will then be in April, so we're not interested in April, so we stop there. Can you see all of them is in a slant? It's like a pattern. Okay, now, we're going to first do our calculation. Because the 5%, right? I'm still not going to do it here. Now, you can do it the long way, okay? You can take the amount and then you can work it out. Like, for example, you take the 800 and then you can work it out and say, let me just see something, yeah. 800. Okay, so you can do it the long way. Let's take November. Let November be our example. Remember, what's our sales for November? 800,000. So you can say 800,000 times 60%. This is what you should pay, is equal to. So it's 8 times 60%. So you should pay 480,000. But now, if you pay the 480,000, it means you've paid 100%. Then they say you can get a 5% discount. Okay, so now you're going to say 480 times 5%. Is equal to 24,000. So this is the amount that you can pay. Can you see my calculations? So we said 480 times 5% gives us 24,000, and then we say 480 minus 24,000 is equal to 456. This is what you will get with the discount. Or we can do it in a shorter way. Shorter way, you take the amount, you multiply it by 0.95, which is the 95%. You multiply it by 0.60, which is the 60%. Right. So what's the amount? 800 multiplied by 0.95 multiplied by 0.60 is equal to 456. Okay, so you can do it the shorter way or you can do it the longer way. Just bear in mind the longer way will normally take up time. Okay, so what we can do here, we can basically just write here amount multiplied by 0.95 multiplied by 0.60, and that's how you do your calculation. Now, remember, we're only interested in these 3 months. So I don't have to do November's, I don't have to do December's, so I'm only going to do January's calculation, February's calculation, and March's calculation. Now, please show your calculations and name them clearly so that we can give you the marks for the calculation. March. So we know January is, we can look on our sheet, January sales 720, February 600, March is 480. So it's 720,000, 600,000, and 480. Multiply by 0.95, multiply by 0.95, multiply by 0.95. If they said they're going to give you 3% discount, then this would have been 0.97, right? 3 plus 7 gives you, 3 plus 97 gives you 100%. 5 plus 95 gives you 100%. Multiply by my 60% that I should actually pay for the month in sale. And then I do my calculations. Okay, the first one, oh, you won't be able to see it. Let's see if I put calculator on the side. Okay, let's just do it like this. Okay, so we say 720,000 multiplied by 95 multiplied by 60 gives us 410,400. Okay, then we say 600,000 multiplied by 95 multiplied by 60, 342. And then we say our 480 multiplied by our 95 multiplied by our 60 gives us 273,600. So we take these amounts and we carry it over, excuse me, to our cash budget. Right, so December or January is 400, and then we come to our cash budget, we go to our debtor schedule, and then we write it here, 410,400. Our February was 342, and our March 273,600. Now can you see, I'm actually done. There's nothing else. So then I take this amount and then I add them up to give me my answers here. Okay. So I say 480 plus 410,400 gives me 690,400. Then it's 250, sorry, it was 280, not 480, plus 342. Oh, no, this is wrong. My calculation is not done. This is only for the first part of the calculation. My apologies. So I added here 410,400. So this is also incorrect. 342. 1, 2, 3, and then 273,600. My apologies. Okay, then we still have to do the other calculations, right? Of which it says in January of the November, 800 of the November sales, 15% is paid in January. So then you just say times your 15%. So this is 120. Okay, December, 950 sales, 20% is paid in January, 15% is paid in February. So it's 950. Okay. Then my January 720 sales, okay, we got our 60%, 20% is paid in February, 15% is paid in March. So I'm just going to say 720 times 20%, 144, and then 720 times 15% is 108. Okay. For February, 600 is my sales. 60% is done. 20% will be paid in March. So I just say 600 times 20% is 120,000. Okay. Now can you see my block is complete? Now I just add up. Okay. First I did it horizontally. Now I'm going to do it vertically, and the amount I get here I carry over to my cash budget. Okay, so it's 120 plus 190 plus 14,400 is equal to 720, 400, and then I take it up. 720, 400. Sorry. 720, 400. Okay, this new amount I will just write here. My apologies. And then I take up my next amount, add it up, and then take it up. 142,500 plus 628,500. Then I take it up to my cash budget, 628,500. Okay, I do my last column. 501,600. Then I take it up. 501,600. Okay, and now I can add up what is in my data schedule. So then I say 280 plus my 720,400 gives me 1,000,400. Remember, this is the answer for this column. Then I say 250 plus my 628,500 is 878,500. And then I say 280 plus my 501,600 is 781,600. Okay, so I'm done with my first part. Then I go and I finish my calculation. What does my instruction say? It says 60% is paid in the first month. So if it is in November, the first month will be December, so this will be 60%. December, the first month will be January, February, and March. Okay, and then the next instruction says 40% in the second month. So if my purchase was in November, 1 to the second month is 40%, 40%, 40%. Okay. And then I just do my calculations. Okay, I don't need December, so I'm just going to do 40% of November. So my November is 300,000 purchases. 40% goes to January, so it's 120. December's 320. 60% is January. 40% is February. 192 plus 320 times 40% is 128. Okay, in January, my 300, 60% goes to February and 40% to March. And in February, of my 250 purchases, 60% goes to March. And then 40% would have gone to April, but because we're not interested in April, we will then not use it, right? And then I bring down my totals, and these amounts I take to my cash budget. Okay. So it is 120 plus, okay, 120 plus 192 equals to 312. I go to my cash budget, right? I bring this up, 312. Go back to my calculations. 128 plus 180 equals to 308. Go to my cash budget, take it up, 308. Okay, then I do my last one, which is March, is 120 plus 150 is 270. Then I take it up to my cash budget, 270. Okay, and now I add up my blocks. Okay, so I'm going to add up my 3 blocks. I already put this in brackets because I know they're saying less cash payment. Okay. So it's 312 plus 160 plus 6,000, 12,000, 7,500 is 497,500. Okay, it's 308 plus 160 plus 6,000 plus 12,000 plus 5,000 is 49123. My last one is 270 plus 160, 6,000, 12,000, 5,000, 453. Okay, and now here's where my framework comes in. I take my opening balance, I add my cash sales. This will give me my total receipts, right? So my opening balance is 50,000, right? So I'm going to take the 50,000. Even if I say minus 50 plus, it will still give me the correct answer. Or you can just say, so it is 950,400, right? So it's equal to my total cash receipts. Then I take my total cash receipts, I minus my payments. That will give me my closing balance. So my closing balance is 452,900. My closing balance of 1 month becomes my opening balance of my next month, 452,900. And then I start the process again. I take my 452,900, which is my opening balance, plus my cash receipts, 878,500, will give me my total receipts, 133,1,400. I take my total receipts minus my payments, will give me my closing balance. My closing balance of 1 month becomes my opening balance of my next month. Then I do the process again. Opening balance, 840,400. Plus 781,600 gives me my total receipts, or my total cash receipts, minus my payments, gives me my closing balance, and that is your cash budget. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.